In what movie did you like the bad guy more than the good guy? Squidward's just trying to live his life in peace and he has 2 man-children constantly annoying him. Trying to think of the actual ages of SpongeBob and Patrick is unsettling to me. Hercules. The Disney animated version. I really liked Hades' character. My sister loves Hades. The real one, not the one from the movie, and says that he chose to be the king of the underworld. Dr. Doofenshmirtz just needed someone to talk to. But all that platypus wanted to do was beat his ass. Honestly, the poor guy needed to see a therapist because he has some serious childhood trauma he needs to unpack. As much as I love Clarice Starling and Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter is still the best character in the whole movie despite only have 16 minutes of screen time. Sir Anthony Hopkins was so legendary he only needed 16 minutes to put his character in the minds of every viewer. The fact that Jodie Foster kept up and did brilliant acting too makes it even better. Winning the Best Actor, Actress and Movie was fully deserved. Tom and Jerry. And not necessarily just the movie but the regular cartoons. FCK, that antagonizing little mouse. He has no redeeming features. Used to watch the show every week waiting for the one time Tom would finally get him. I was the oldest of way too many kids and I always sympathized with Tom. The B Movie. Ken was the only sane person. Are there other bugs in your life? I like bad guys who have legit reasons. Clue from Tron Legacy was instructed to make the perfect system. But he took it a little too seriously. He was just doing his job to make it a perfect world. HAL 9000 from 2001 Space Odyssey is another good one. He wasn't evil. He was just given conflicting programming. Technically, the conflicting programming is not explained in the movie. But in the sequel, right? Only watch the movie once. The Monarch and Venture Brothers. What kind of idiot doesn't even lock his doors? I'm not even going to flush. Let them see the wrath of the monarch. Double quote. Heat. De Niro, Pacino, don't let yourself get attached to anything you are not willing to walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you feel the heat around the corner. Double quote. Agreed, though you could make an argument for Waingro being the actual antagonist for both. FCK Waingro. Kung Fu Panda 2. I like cold calculating villains who don't need to be ultra strong or puppet masters to prove that they're a real threat. Shin was really interesting because he was smart in his strategy. And especially when he tries to stop his fate. But everything he does only seals it. Shin was honestly one of, if not the most intimidating animated villains around. You know what he could do. You know what he would do to get what he wants. Everything about him is just top notch. His design. His motives. His fighting style. Everything. Wile E. Coyote. Dude was starving in the desert and just wanted to eat. Meryl Streep's character in The Devil Wears Prada. So much more interesting than Anne Hathaway's character. And in many ways she was right. This is business at the top and Anne Hathaway's character was a naive child wandering into a battle of giants. Anyone who doesn't want to be a part of that world should just get the hell out of it. She showed a lot of patience with her and brought her far with the company. Considering that she was brand new to the game. The job sucks ass. For sure. I find myself empathizing with his sister more and more. But Charlie Sheen's character is honestly the smartest of the bunch. I've come to accept that other people, like Ferris, are going to breeze through life. But if they aren't hurting anyone, then I'm just making myself worse off by getting upset about it. Just gotta go along for the ride. Megamind, but that was kinda the point. His brain just too thick. I love you, random citizen. Double quote. Rumpelstiltskin in Once Upon a Time. Even before his redemption arc. He was just so much more entertaining for me than any of the good guys. Him and Regina were the true stars of that show. The Devil in Bedazzled. Mainly because he is played by Elizabeth Hurley. Hilarious when Brendan Fraser can't stop crying at the sunset. Emperor's New Groove. Isma and Kronk. They're entertaining to watch until today. The Poison. The Poison for Cuzco. The poison chosen specifically to kill Kuzco. Kuzco's poison. In Despicable Me, I think the bad guy Gru was better than good guy Gru. Although I have some mixed feelings about it. Sure, good guy Gru was lovely to their adoptive girls and started to enjoy the world more and more, which I think was positive. And he was still a villain after all. But the evil Gru that didn't give a shit about others and just wanted to steal the moon was a bit funnier. I think Despicable Me would have been more interesting if, instead of turning good at the end, Gru had trained his daughters up to become supervillains in their own right. Muppet Treasure Island. Come on. Tim Curry. That performance was one of the most perfect, lovable, rogue, charismatic characters of all time. I rooted for Gerard Butler's character Clyde Sheldon in Law Abiding Citizen. I am amazed how long I had to scroll down to finally find mention of this movie. I completely agree. I wanted Gerard Butler's character to win. Just about everyone. I love horror, and as a kid I realized that if I rooted for the bad guy, it's less scary. Oh my god, that's genius. The Rock. Nicolas Cage. Sean Connery and Ed Harris. Harris assumes control of Alcatraz prison, a now tourist destination, and uses it as a missile launch site to threaten the US government for ransom. On the surface he looks like a bad guy, so Cage and Connery have to go stop him. Later in the movie it's revealed that he only wants the reparations his dead men and their families are entitled to. He doesn't hurt any prisoners, and though he's given the opportunity, when the government declines, he admits he was never going to actually use the weapon. The movie is well written and the characters have depth enough to garner empathy for even the villain. X-Men. Magneto was right. Magneto is indeed a complex villain. I won't say he's right, but I can see where he's coming from. Breaking Bad. Hank was the only actual good guy in the show and an insufferable ass. Edit. Of the major characters, Gus is easily one of the best characters in all of TV. It's one of the few cases where underacting works extremely well. There's just something about Predator that keeps me interested. Yeah, he was just a hunter that was trying to have a fun time, preying on a bunch of gun-toting lesser life forms. Jaws. You want the shark to win. In the book pretty much every character is a complete teabag with zero likable qualities. So you want the shark to eat their asses. In the movie they made them slightly more likable and relatable. But you still want the shark to win. For the book I can see it. But I gotta disagree for the movie. Brody's fatherly qualities, Hooper's wide-eyed fascination and respect for science, and Kint's wartime experience all outweighed the fact that the shark ate a hot naked chick. A little kid. 2 innocent boaters. Kint himself. And a dog. A dog. FCK that shark. Edit. Might as well have included the shark's other victims. The Joker in the 1989 Batman. Played by Jack Nicholson. He was really fantastic. He was funny. Liked Prince's music. Was a snazzy dresser. And had a major thing for Kim Basinger. What's not to like? I think I was 12 the first time I saw it. And I legitimately cried when he died. He also killed a shitload of people with chemical weapons. High School Musical. Troy and Gabriella are assholes. Ryan and Sharpay are both complete triple threats. You don't audition just by having someone sing a song. What about the dance call? What about the acting portion? What about the fact that Gabriella is likely to have stage fright on first night? I just love Loki. Edit. It's my first gold OMG. Loki. I would die for you. Ragnarok was his best appearance for sure. I loved during the film how he and Thor were just pointing fingers at each other. And X200B. I've been falling for 30 minutes. Spider-Man. Homecoming. Vulture is a normal guy, trying to take care of his family. Then the government, and Tony Stark especially, FCK him over royally when he had a contract. Not only that, he does everything he can not to attack Peter. I see the whole movie as a working man versus the system story, with Spider-Man there as a nuisance. The Vulture story is way more interesting than Peter's, and just in general here's who I would rather hang out with. Squidward, but also Hades from Hercules. He's just so sassy and blue. You certainly have a type. May want to add Megamind to that group. The Labyrinth. I mean, it's David Bowie dancing around with a bulge. Edit. Till the bulge was the hero of the story. My all-time favorite movie. I have never explored it from the angle of him being the bad guy. Although he definitely is. I have some self-reflection to explore regarding my previous relationships now. Yikes. In Man in the High Castle TV show, the bad guys like John Smith were way more interesting than Juliana, the main character. I legit wanted Juliana to die. A Bergrupenführer Smith sends his regards. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I sided with Tuco, the ugly guy. Mitchell Douglas's character in Falling Down. He was just so badass and methodical, and 90% of the things he did you kinda want to do yourself too. And like all the best bad guys, he doesn't even realize he is the bad guy. Anything with Christoph Waltz as the villain. But particularly Inglourious Bastards. Edited. I legit thought his name was Christopher Waltz. Star Wars, Original Trilogy. Darth Vader is a much more compelling and complex character than Luke Skywalker. Luke is an annoying brat. Vader has a real moral arc and I love seeing him develop. Anthony Hopkins in The Silence of the Lambs. Can Hannibal really be the true villain in this movie though? Wouldn't it be Buffalo Bill? Eater. Not that I disagree with you. It has to be Die Hard. Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber was the best. Then again, he was fantastic as the Sheriff of Nottingham in Robin Hood Prince of Thieves 2. Actually, I think I just probably loved Alan Rickman's bad characters. Edit. Okay. All of Alan Rickman's characters. Wreck-It Ralph. I'm bad. And that's good. I'll never be good. And that's not bad. There's no one I'd rather be than me. DR. Horrible in DR. Horrible's sing-along blog. Captain Hammer is the real bad guy there. Ultron was the only interesting character in his movie. And I say that as a guy who loved basically every other movie in the series. Everyone else was so one-dimensional and boring. And here Ultron is sighing and showing frustration and calling people on their hypocrisy. And being the only character that feels human. Even though he was a robot. Kylo Ren. He was so much better than Rey in every aspect. And showed tremendous character progression. He did kinda become the good guy at the end. But seriously. His character arc was no doubt the best in the sequel trilogy. The first one that came to mind is not a movie but a TV show. In Jessica Jones S1. The Purple Man. Played by David Tennant. Is the whole reason to watch that show. Such an uncomfortable performance. But a great one. MR. Mossovy. I mean seriously. You're head of a 5-star hotel and all of a sudden some twins FCK everything up. I'm 20 and can already sympathize. Captain Hook. Peter Pan is a little piece of shit. Captain Hook is just doing his job. I saw Titanic in theaters as a preteen with my friends. We all walked out swooning over how handsome he was and I said, "And that gorgeous black hair." They stared at me like I was an animal. I eventually fell for Leo as an actor but maintained that Billy Zane was gorgeous in that movie. The Dark Knight. I really sympathize with Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight. The dude just wanted to make Gotham a better place. But got FK'd for it. So he tried doing it another way. And honestly, got results. In 2001. A Space Odyssey, HAL 9000 is really the only character we know anything about. So, it took me a few watches. I didn't feel this way watching it live. Nor the first time I watched the film. But, controversial opinion incoming, Aaron Burr vs Alexander Hamilton. No Country for Old Men. Llewellyn's a cool outlander and everything, but Jesus Christ, there'll never be a better antagonist than Anton Chigurh. Hans Landa in Inglourious Bastards. He's such a charismatic character it's difficult to not like him. He's charismatic and a big part of his character. At least as I remember it. I may be wrong. It's been years. Is that he doesn't seem to have any personal motivation or prejudice other than the thrill of the hunt itself. Dude just likes hunting people down and being right. Adrian Deet aka Ozymandias. In the movie version at least. Sure, he killed some shitty heroes and some scientists and lied to the whole world. Yet, he was working towards a necessary goal in the face of an escalating inescapable scenario, and he gave Dr. Manhattan the clarity of self he needed and an excuse to leave Earth. All in all, he was no villain. Just the hero that world needed. The Little Mermaid. Ariel is a princess who obsessively loves the monsters who actively hunt and eat her subjects. Then she falls in love with a guy whom she just met, while he was actively in the process of kidnapping sapient fish to be slaughtered and eaten. Asterisk. Meanwhile, Ursula is a badass. Everything she said about humans in general and Prince Eric was basically true. And those fishermen had it coming to them. I really want to see a play or movie like Wicked. But about Ursula. Gaius Baltar from Battlestar Galactica, reimagined. He's a self-centered weasel, but he is just so interesting to watch. My pet peeve about him is that he rarely faces real consequences for his actions. The Dark Knight. I was happier to see the Joker appear on screen than Batman. I'm not saying I agree with the Joker's actions, but I just find him to be a much more interesting and complex character overall than Batman, who seemed very one-dimensional. Plus, the Joker's odd mannerism was also very entertaining to watch. Fantastic performance by Heath Ledger. The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Harry Osborn was grieving the loss of his father and slowly dying of an illness. When he is in need of Spider-Man's help, Peter refuses even though the two were close friends. Ultimately, it's Peter's fault that Gwen dies, not Harry's. Any film where Tom Cruise plays the good guy. Counterpoint. Tom Cruise was the best part of Collateral. Is Joker technically the bad guy? Pretty sure the Joker is the definition of chaotic evil. Iceman in Top Gun. He really makes a lot of good points. I rewatched it as an adult and was like, damn, Maverick really is dangerous. Killmonger in Black Panther. MBJ was just so good. For TV shows, I liked Zuko and Azula more than Aang. Aang is great, but I feel like he was not as entertaining as the rest of Team Avatar. Technically Magneto is an anti-hero, but I like him better than most of the ethically handicapped. Nerdy. Existential crisis having X-Men. I wish him and his mutant faction would have a spin-off that portrays the world as more of a shade of grey instead of black and white. Altruism has its limits. Avatar: The Last Airbender. Zuko's grown a lot and it's interesting to see the turmoil inside him. Black Panther. Dude won the kingdom fair and square according to their own rules. Maybe if your country can get hijacked by some random dude in a physical duel, it's a bad way to choose your leader. In Whiplash, I found myself rooting for Fletcher instead of Andrew. Fletcher was pursuing greatness via methods that made sense to him, while Andrew had virtually no redeeming qualities aside from playing the drums well. Fletcher was understandably the hero of his own story, while Andrew was generally an ass. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, not the Johnny Depp one. Child murder notwithstanding, I was rooting for him over the children, him over Charlie too. Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, because from the college student point of view Tucker and Dale are the bad guy.